Have you ever wondered why someone's already upset with you when you haven't even spoken a word to them? Today we're going to talk about 5 different forms of nonverbal communication that we use daily without even realizing what we're doing. We're going to talk about chronemics, paralanguage, kinesics, haptics, and then last of all, our physical appearance. The first thing we're going to talk about is chronemics. What is chronemics, you may ask? Chronemics is how we communicate with time. Waiting for an appointment is something that is done often. We may go to a doctor's appointment. We may go to a job interview. When we keep someone waiting, we're explaining to them that they're not worth it. Our time is more valuable than theirs. We are more important. We didn't take the time to show up on time out of disrespect for them. I bet you didn't realize that you were saying all that when you decided to be late for your interview. Time can also be used to show anticipation. We can build up our kids' excitement for Christmas, and in the waiting period between now and then, it's anticipation. Time is used as a positive method to build for the excitement, for the great reveal, so to speak. Besides using time as a form of communication, we use our paralanguage. Paralanguage is not communicating with our words necessarily, but the way in which we deliver our words, with our tone, our inflection, or even the voice that we use. So sighing would be a very common form. When people tell you to do that sometimes, you're just overwhelmed. You're giving me too much to do, too much information to process at one time. I probably sighed several times today myself. I'm pretty sure that you did too if you actually reflect back on it. You probably didn't realize that you were actually communicating to the speaker at the time, but you are. The way that you're responding to what they're saying to you is a message that you're portraying. Another very common form of paralanguage would be yelling. A lot of people feel that they have to yell to get their point across. I'm sure many of you have been in a conversation where you're talking and then it just escalates. The voices just get louder and louder because it seems like whoever's the loudest voice wins the argument. Not necessarily so, but some people believe that to be the case. So we've talked about using our paralanguage as a form of communication. How about kinesics? Have you ever thought about your body position being used as a form of nonverbal communication? Did you ever wonder that when you're sitting there and you cross your arms when I'm talking to you, or you frown when someone says something, that you're actually communicating to someone? Crossing our arms lets someone know that we're closed off, we're guarded. We're not necessarily receptive of the information that we're receiving at the time. Someone who can be a little bit leery of the conversation going on, depending on the information that you're sharing with them. Frowning is another one that we use. I can be showing my disappointment to you by just frowning, my confusion, I'm just so upset right now, but I don't want to use the words because the words might actually get me in trouble, so I'm just going to frown. Another one that's often used is smiling. Across the room, I can send a smile to someone just as an encouragement, just to brighten their day, not realizing that I've been communicating to that person just by the facial expressions that I have been using. After we talked about kinesics, we can look at haptics. Do you even know what haptics are? Haptics are our physical touch. The hugs that you give someone, the kisses that you give someone, those are very popular. Hugs can be given out of comfort. Hugs can be given out of love, out of encouragement. Kissing, that can be given as a romantic gesture, or even something as simple as a cultural greeting. When you go to Europe, I know that that's just standard procedure. A kiss on each cheek. It's a welcoming gesture that is done, and they're communicating to you. Though I may not even speak your language, I can understand what you're saying to me. You're greeting me. The last thing we're going to talk about is physical appearance. I know that this is last, but this is probably one of the most important ways that we communicate without even realizing it. Have you ever looked at someone and said it looks like they just crawled out of bed? Well, what do you think about that person when you see them? You think that they haven't taken the time, that they don't feel invested in the situation. So when we see someone show up dirty to work or dirty to an event, we think they didn't value our time. They didn't think it was worth it to put in the effort that it took to clean themselves up. On the other side, we have someone who is polished, who is dressed fit to kill, you may say. They felt that it was worth it. They were worth it. It's not necessarily how someone else is worth it. It's how we feel about ourselves. Physical appearance has a lot to do with how we feel about ourselves. How we present ourselves to others is how we communicate. By presenting myself in a certain way, you may be more receptive to hear from me. If the president were to come up there all dirty, covered in grease and oil, you may not be as receptive to what he has to say as if he appears clean and polished. It's sad to say, and it's not being shallow, but that's just the way that we are as humans. So we've talked about communicating through chronemics, paralanguage, kinesics, haptics, and lastly, physical appearance. Some of these words, we may not have even known what they meant until we started studying them here. And yet, we use these things daily to communicate with each other. So I wonder, the next time someone starts talking to you, are you going to sit there and try to silently read their secret cues to see what they're trying to say? Thank you.